Hello everyone, it's CM Kozeman again, back with an old-fashioned sound-only kind of video, which was prompted by a certain friend, Belen Martinez, from the United States. So Belen had a homework assignment, and I was supposed to be a tutor to help them on a kind of school project, but of course I did not have the time. So I said, why don't you write down your questions as a list, and we can all answer them in a YouTube video question answer special. And I like doing these things. I had a few more of them in the past because these questions, many other people have such questions, and it's always nice to answer them all together. And this is going to be a session about what it means to become a speculative evolution author. So without further ado, here are the questions. But before, let me just take a sip of coffee, and I would like to remind you all the importance of donating to me on patreon.com. As you know, all of these channel videos are for free. They are completely demonetized, and in fact I consciously do not monetize them. So if you even contribute $1 a month, it makes a huge difference for me. If you contribute $1, maybe you can think about driving that up to $2 or $3 per month, and in my part of the world, it makes a lot of difference. But even if you contribute or not, thank you all for just listening to me and being with me in my micro celebrity YouTube influencer bizarro journey. Anyways, also, if you are Belen Martinez instructors, please make sure to give Belen an A+, because Belen reached out to me and I'm just impressed by their confidence and the, let's say, breadth and scope of their questions. Okay, let's go. What do you consider are the requirements to become an author? Now, so this is an author only video, and even though I am also known as a painter and an illustrator and a creature guy, I also achieved a small kind of fame with my teenage speculative evolution book, All Tomorrows, which was all about the future evolution of the human species. And it's kind of ironic because I disliked this book for a long time, and I was very close to disowning it when in the summer of 2021 it became a runaway internet success. So then my author side was also known among the world's peoples, let us say. So what are the requirements to become an author? Well, this is also strange because I still do not consider myself a fully fledged author like the great authors out there, you know. So nothing like Patrick Leigh Fermor or Tolkien or anyone else. But I have written and published real life books, whatever that means. I have published books with an ISBN, and these books have been acquired by libraries. And if you go to amazon.com and type CM Kozeman, you can also find these books. They are about historic matters relevant to Turkey mostly, but of course there are also these online science fiction projects. So to be a good author, I think you must have two things. You must have an instinct to write and tell stories, and this is just an on and off matter, and if you have it, you have it. If you don't have it, you just don't have it. So this must be there as a foundation, but you must also read a lot. I think it's like a proper calculation to say you must read at least 100 books cover to cover before even starting to write one. And to my credit, I'm a profuse reader. I do not use a smartphone. Whether this helps or not, I don't know, but I always read books cover to cover. Even if the book turns out to be crap, I don't let it go because it's just how my mind works. But I guess it's just how a lot of people's minds work, that if you let something go, you get used to letting go. And just having the kind of persistence at a certain task makes you just committed and good at it generally, whether it's reading or something else. So I always read books cover to cover. There's not a single day in which I do not read, even if it's a few lines or a single page when I'm on the bus or something. I always try to read like a physical paper book. And maybe I'm a boomer, I don't know, but these ebooks and smartphone reading or computer reading just doesn't do it for me. So you have to read a lot of books And of course, it would help if these are like good and critically acclaimed books, so that you kind of know what's a good way to build sentences, what's a good way to build stories, arguments, and how to basically use words to your advantage. I think so. The requirements are: one, to have a desire to tell stories, and it's an instinctive thing. You just have it or don't. And two, you just have to read a lot and practice a lot. And second question: what are the advantages and disadvantages of being an author? Well, to continue the first question, it's almost like having a disease. I don't think many people who are successful authors, they are in it to gain an advantage. I mean, if you're in it to make money, the best you end up is as someone like J.K. Rowling, who seems to enjoy enormous commercial success at a deeply troubled and spiritually crisis-ridden life. Of course, many other things can create life crises, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's like almost like winning the lottery. I mean, it's very rare to turn money into books or art in general, but it's very, very difficult to turn books or art into money. So if you're thinking in terms of advantages and disadvantages, maybe this game is not for you to begin with. It's like a disease. I mean, you either have this compulsive desire to create worlds and tell people about them, or you don't. Now, if you have this desire, of course, you go through steps. It always helps to have a proper education, especially on writing. But more than most, as I told you before, it helps if you read a lot, and if you continually hate your productions and strive to better them. That also helps. So advantages could be like, in the very long run, you could be famous. That's an advantage, I guess, and you could be making a lot of money from this. But as I told you, or as I may have told you, even though I'm a somewhat well-known author in the present day, most of my income comes from like a proper day job. I'm a copywriter for advertising companies, and it helps to have a good knowledge of English, of course, especially in a part of the world where the average knowledge of English is abysmal. So that helps. Haha. What I'm trying to get at is, if you're trying to pay the bills, don't be an author, don't be an artist at all. That's a disadvantage, I guess. So I could say that the disadvantage of being any sort of creative is that you're stricken with this kind of wonderful disease for the rest of your life. And it's like a psychological thing. I don't know. Number 3 says, if you have competition, how do you deal with said competition? Now, this is something I never thought about, and to be honest, it's kind of alien to my way of thinking, because the things I create in writing, now I have like fantasy books like All Tomorrows, but I also have like proper ISBN coded books you can actually buy from Amazon.com for money. Like one of them is the dinosaur book, All Yesterdays, but a few more are about Turkish history or Jewish history. These are like proper history books. They're still good reading, but they're good reading if you kind of know a bit about the subject, like the Jewish community of Bodrum in Turkey, for example. And all of these books are in English, so it also helps. So you can also buy and read them if you're interested in that sort of thing. If you go to cmkozeman.com/books, you can see all the books I've ever written, whether they are free or not, or professional or personal. You can find them all, and the free ones, you can download them. The link is in the video description. So I have always done what I thought needed doing. I had this kind of mentality. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? And I just didn't care about competition. I mean, heck, the arts are the one part of life where you're not meant to give a flying fig about what any other people are doing. So competition, never thought about that, to be honest. I just wanted to be honest. I just wanted to write books that would not let me feel like J.K. Rowling at the end. You know, I didn't want to go with that techie, gummy, marketable aspect at all. I just wanted to do things that made me happy. Scratch that itch. And while scratching, I never gave a flying fig about competition. Number 4, what to do when inspiration is low? Okay, this is a relevant question. In fact, I think today I'm on my low inspiration days. I don't know why. Yesterday, I spent the whole day cleaning the house. So I was indoors all the time. And cleaning the house for me, it's like therapeutic. It's like going to the gym without paying money. So it's really great. But I think I have a case of cabin fever. So right after recording this, I'm just going to run outside and just going to explore some weird parts of the city, or I don't know, pet a cat or something. So today's a low inspiration day. I started recording this video 11 times and this is the 12th time, and finally I'm not stopping it because I just want to put it out there and move on with my day. So you will have the days like this, and it's okay to be like that. I mean, we are living in such a productivity oriented culture that it's actually evil. I mean, you must, if you have this itch, you already strive to better yourself, to improve yourself. But it mustn't be like a machine or like a soda dispenser. You know, you don't push the button and creative things come out. No. You must have some downtime, and you can spend that downtime just doing things you enjoy doing. I think the key point is not to be lazy, but you can also have downtime, media consumption, happy time, happy hours, without being unproductive. What I'm getting at is like, if you're not doom scrolling on Instagram or Twitter idly, just go and read a book cover to cover, something you wanted to read, or turn on a documentary and watch it from end to end. Turn on a like consume a narrative product from start to end. Don't fall into this abyss of doom scrolling with social media, because that's just like using heroin and shooting it into your nuts. So it's okay to feel low. It's okay to feel uninspired. The trick is not to get into those, social media feedback loops, or like when you're feeling down, don't let that time pass in a way that increases your, decreases your self-confidence. I hope I'm making myself clear. And actually, this is one of the reasons why for me it's good to have a day job. Like, I spent like a few hours writing up some corporate stuff for some port company on Turkey or whatever, and I don't hate those tasks. I do them. I try to do them well, and when they're done, they're done. So they're out of my head. Now I have something that I desire to do, to look up to, because the human mind is like that. We're not machines. We need to have some sort of minor internal stress to drive us forward. And it's also better, imagine if I was on contract to write my next book or something, 5,000 words per day. Why? Am I a fucking soda dispenser? No. I want to write because I want to feel happy. So that's how I operate. So when your inspiration is low, the top 3 answers are: 1, it's okay to be low. B, don't slack around. Don't be a coomer. Don't spend it derogatorily. And number 3, try to shift gears. If you're also interested in art, maybe go into a painting mode or drawing mode, or just involve yourself with your day job, and then the inspiration will come back again. Number 5, why do you think being an author is not being taken seriously, especially if you're writing fantasy? Well, that's a strange thing, isn't it? I mean, one could say that the serious jobs are, like a lawyer, or some sort of corporate accounts job, or a doctor. But when 100 years pass, science fiction writers are remembered, not accountants and doctors and lawyers. This is not to belittle them, but writing fantasy, telling stories, basically, it has a value of its own, a spiritual and human value that only gets appreciated as time passes. And in the present day, of course, like if you're saying I'm a poet or like I'm a vampire fiction writer, I guess some people do not take this seriously as a job, because in their very nature, these things are not jobs. They are like para jobs. They are beyond jobs. Paranormal is beyond normal. A creative career is a para job. It's beyond a job. It's answering to a higher calling. So when you mix the two together, there's some animosity involved, and one side doesn't like the other. But I would rather be. Maybe I'm just coping, but I would rather be this multi-job, just wandering around type, who has the comfort of his own time for his creative endeavors, let us say, and not be an author or a science fiction writer or an illustrator or whatever as a job, So because if I was a creative professional, what would I be doing? Like writing the script for the next Rick and Morty episode? Why? I mean, why should I march to someone else's tone? I want to do the things that I want. I want to tell the stories that I want to tell. So maybe it's good that they don't take me seriously, because I don't take them seriously either. But I think, the answer to this is a caveat. So you must be able to stand on your own 2 feet, or like if you have some sort of family advantage, if your parents are wealthy, if you're born into wealth, you must use that to, you must give that some credit, and just, now you got a head start on many people. So focus on being the best author or creative artist, whatever you can be. And it's also okay to be born into wealth in that respect. Also, but on the contrary, I've been reading the biography of one of my favorite authors, Jack Vance. That's Jack Vance, and he's a great author. He used to write Captain Video TV show scripts and strange detective novels, but he also wrote some of the most awe-inspiring, weird and beautiful sci-fi stories ever. He's a master creator of worlds and cultures and strange creatures, just like a godlike author that I look up to. I feel like a worm when I read Jack Vance's writings. But Jack Vance had this very gumshoe, gung-ho American way of approaching writing. He would just sit and just write. He said he has this regulation 5,000 words to write per day. And my personal approach is a bit more, let us say, European, or even, dare I say, Oriental, in that I like life to wash over me, and if I got it, I got it. If I don't, I don't, But maybe if I had this Jack Vance style, American-driven, regulation 5,000, 10,000 word a day style, I could have been a better writer or a better artist. So, maybe the entire romantic spiel I gave you about jobs and art not being on the same track, it's just a strange kind of cope. But then again, Jack Vance lived in a time in which a budding sci-fi writer could support his own family, buy a house, rent a house, travel the world. And now nobody can do that, Not even accountants and computer scientists can do that, let alone authors. So the times have changed. So it's maybe better to be quote-unquote Oriental these days and make your money some other way and let life wash over you. All right. Number 5. Why is the job of book writing important? Well, I think I kind of answered this in the previous answers. I think the chief answer is, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? Someone has to do it, and it has to be you. If you think you have a story that just needs to be told, do it. Don't constrain yourself, especially in this day and age. I mean, you could have it on your own website, on Reddit, whatever. I mean, you could be your own creator. That's how I succeeded, if you could call it that, with All Tomorrows, I was just a teenager in Turkey, out of all places, jerking off during the day and writing during the night, drawing these strange humans. And I think 15 years passed or something. and then it became a world phenomenon. I don't know how this thing happened, you know. I think it was thanks to Old Shift X, that YouTube channel that kind of first put it out there. And maybe the COVID pandemic, because something cataclysmic was really happening, huh? So I never knew, I never cared about. I just felt like the story had to come out, and I did it. And to this day, I dislike this story so much that I'm rewriting All Tomorrows these days. And if you follow me on patreon.com, you can read sneak excerpts from All Tomorrows, the revised edition, and my other projects. I think it's important because I don't know. So this is gonna be a moot answer. Okay, number 6, what is your writing process? This is a really good question, technical question. I love answering technical stuff like this, because we live in a day and age when, especially when these creative questions come up, all the answers are wishy-washy and emotional, like if you be your best self, blah blah blah. But no one talks about the technical aspects of things. But sketching weird creatures, writing about weird creatures, there's also like an art, a techne in the ancient Greek words, a way of working that's involved with these things, and that gets little discussion. So my writing process is this. I have like a sheaf of very cheap paper. Okay, I always carry that wherever I go, and I have got some very cheap hotel pens. The key point here is cheapness, I think. So I sit down and write on the paper. I don't care about how it goes. I cross sentences out, blah blah blah. So that's my first draft. Then I let 1 week pass, kind of like let things cool down in my head a bit, and then type it up on the computer. Now when I'm typing, I finalize all those edits and changes. And one of the good things about writing on paper is that you're not distracted by the computer screen, so you can actually like avoid typing errors and spelling errors and grammatic errors. Like I think that was the trick with a lot of the old generation, that they wrote with their hands. Because if you look at new recent books, even academic books have lots of weird typos in them. Why? Because these people were writing in front of a computer, and every 5 minutes they were distracted by Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But in the old days, you just had the paper, the pen, and you had to commit to it. So when you're writing that way, you don't make mistakes. So that's one part of my writing process. So first version is on paper, then I type it up, and when the project is finished, imagine I'm writing a short story, okay, with 3 chapters. So I spent 1 day writing on paper, chapter 1. Day 2, type that up. Day 3, again, chapter 2 on paper. Then type that up. So how many? Next day you write on paper chapter 3, and then on the 6th day you type that up too. And then you spend a few more days bringing it all together, and then you print what you typed, but it has to be finished, like from head to toe. It has to be finished. So you print that and you read it all over again, and you see if there are any last minute changes that need to be made, and that's that. And after that, the trick is not to give a fuck about it, I'm sorry to say, because you will always find some things to change. You will always find some things to end. It's a never-ending process, but you just have to stop somewhere. So that's my writing process. I hope it helps you too. How does one go about publishing a book? Okay, so this is a nice segue from my previous answer. In the past, you just had to write a treatment and just shop it around, but now I just export it on PDF. Of course, if you want to put it on Amazon or like make money from it, you can use with those print-on-demand services. That's how we published this dinosaur book with John Conway and Darren Naish all yesterdays. It's through lulu.com. So what happens is, like, you give a file to lulu.com, and this file could be anything, you know. So of course it was the finished book. You give a PDF file to this company. What they do is they somehow hook it up to amazon.com. So if someone buys a real book, they actually print it on demand and ship it to them. If they buy an ebook, they just ship them the ebook file. And I think Amazon itself, Amazon.com itself has their own self-publishing option too these days. So that's always a great opportunity. So I go through this process of writing and finalizing I just described you. And then at the end, if I want it to be like a real book, I go through maybe lulu.com or amazon.com. If I want it to be a free thing, I just make a PDF and throw it out there. Of course, then I have my own history books, which are, as I just described to you in the beginning of this video, books about obscure parts of Istanbul's history or Turkish Jewish history or whatever. Now, for those books, I've been lucky enough to work with a publisher. So what happens is I go to my publisher and I say, I have this book, would you want to publish it? Usually they say yes. So I write the book in the course of a year or two, and then it gets published. But let me warn you, in this kind of publishing, especially with as niche subjects as this, Judaic history in Turkey or something, it's very difficult to make money. But I guess money should never be your... It's like love. I mean, the more you chase a partner, the less likely you are to find it. But if you do your own thing, success will come to you, hopefully, and hopefully money too. So 3 ways. If you feel you just launch the PDF out there, use this self-publishing or print-on-demand publishing services, or if you have a publisher, work your relationship with them. And let me tell you, when you have a publisher, I worked with 2 official publishers for my history books so far, and the relations you cultivate with them are very important. So, like, they're life-changing relations. Let me just tell you that. Of course, now another question, number 8. My project Snaiad has many fascinating creatures. What are some things that help you come up with them? Okay, so if you don't know what Snaiad is, it's a kind of world design project, and Belen has been kind enough to call it a book, but it was like one extensive website I launched in 2007. And now, like all tomorrows, I'm also reinventing and rewriting and completely re-illustrating Snaiad as a complete book project to be published in the future, hopefully. And it's about all these strange creatures, strange but believable evolutionary relationships on an alien world. And I think, like, I have discussed Snaiad a lot before, but just a short answer to this big question is that I study real life animals, even like the way they diversify. Like when one group of animals arrives at a certain continent, they diversify into strange niches. I can give an example from crocodiles. Like we know crocodiles as crocodiles today, right? But in the past, there used to be crocodiles that walked around like dogs, or like with plated backs like armadillos. So like one lineage can explode into multiple different niches. So if you set down some characteristics for a certain lineage and then work them into a kind of different niche adaptation, you can get believable looking and diverse aliens. And Belen says that would be all. Take care, Mr. Kozeman, and I hope your works and day goes well. Well, what a nice letter. I hope these answers were also helpful to you, everyone. And thank you for listening to me on this answers video. As always, thanks for supporting me on Patreon. All your donations would be really welcome. In fact, if you go on supporting me on Patreon, I am going to drop some never before seen Snaiad creatures today. So, you will be able to see how that project is going. And if you have any comments about these answers, how does it go? Have you also published a book of your own? Please discuss it with me. Which way of creative endeavor is better? Do you prefer the American method, or do you prefer the old world Kefi method? Just let me know. And as always, have a nice day. This has been CM Kozeman. Goodbye.